On behalf of women workers in Bangladesh, we wanted to ask your Prime Minister, the government official, they are getting 6 months maternity protection, but the working people in garments workers and other sector, they are getting 4 months. It's a big discrimination.
These are the voices of the garment workers who make up the backbone of the ready-made garments industry in Bangladesh. The workers who have worked tirelessly, yet with inadequate wages. The workers who face workplace harassment, yet show up to work every day. The workers who have to take to the streets to voice their concerns, yet remain unheard.
There has been another horrific incident at a garment factory in Bangladesh. An 8-story building collapsed today, killing at least 145 people and injuring hundreds of others. This just months after a fire killed more than 100 people and put the unsafe working conditions at many factories in the global spotlight.
On April 24, 2013, a garment factory in Dhaka collapsed, eventually killing more than 1,100 people and injuring thousands more. The Rana Plaza tragedy is cited as one of the world's worst industrial disasters, with most of the victims being garment workers who were predominantly young women. Prior to the collapse, the factory was reported to have cracks in the walls, and various warnings were issued stating that the building was not safe to be operating in. On April 23rd, the building was evacuated. Yet the following day, Sohail Rana, the owner of the building, threatened to withhold salaries from anyone who refused to return to work, disregarding concerns for their safety. This caused the building to collapse, while 3,000 people were working inside. After Rana Plaza, the subject of ethical fashion was brought into the spotlight, making headline news across the world.
So my name's John Quelch. I'm the Charles Edward Wilson Professor Emeritus at Harvard Business School and former Dean of the University of Miami Herbert Business School in Florida. I authored, I think, with an assistant, the first Harvard Business School case studies on the Rana Plaza catastrophe. What we discovered in the course of the research was that there was significant lack of supervision of the workplaces in question, both by the local government authorities, but also by the brand owners in the Western world who had conveniently subcontracted the production of their branded product to subcontractors who were operating in the Rana Plaza complex.
The incident not only highlighted the lack of workplace safety, but also various other obstacles that hinder the path to ethical fashion, one of these obstacles being gender-based discrimination. Professor Day from the University of Dhaka conducted research into this discrimination. Her paper outlines the issue of wages and the struggle of women in this sector.
Numerous subcontracting small factories were there. They were not following any guideline for ensuring safe environment or safe working environment. They were irregular in paying the workers, imposing barriers on their participation in trade unions or protests.
Bangladesh has one of the lowest minimum wage values in the garment industry globally, and while this was constantly protested, changes weren't made until after Rana Plaza.
It's an unfortunate reality in public policy that it takes a disaster to bring people together and motivate action. And the magnitude of this tragedy was such that all stakeholders were under considerable pressure from the media worldwide to be both held to account and to progress in remediation and compensation.
I'm Manzareen Zaman. I am the Director of Sustainability, HR and Audits. I've been working since 2019 here at Fokiakros. I graduated in 2017 from LSE.
Fakir Apparels is a garment factory located in the outskirts of Dhaka. At Fakir Apparels, initiatives have been implemented to address both social and environmental sustainability. They also refer to workers as team members to consider them as people to collaborate with rather than people to simply employ.
So post 2012, Bangladesh's Labour Act was amended throughout the many years by the direction of the Prime Minister to further protect and ensure the well-being of our team members. I'll mention some of the things that has come about in the last 10 years. So for example, our labor law, before passed, there was no maternity leaves. After that came about 3 months paid maternity leave. So this is fully paid. 8 weeks pre-delivery, 8 weeks post-delivery. In fact, a woman can actually get to choose as well how she wants to break it up. But now we are going into 4 months paid maternity leave. The new law will be requiring us to give our women 4 months of paid full maternity leave. Another thing is in the last 10 years since post Rana Plaza 2012 post, minimum salary used to be 3,000 taka. Now it is 8,000, and going into 2023 it's actually increasing. It's not been declared yet, but it is going to increase. So that has also been a major change. Previously, 10,000, it was 1 lakh that was insured.
Insurance, group insurance.
Yeah, and now it's 2 lakhs. Previously, 18 days, they used to get 18 days of earned leaves. Now we're required to give them 20 days of earned leaves. Previously, there was no provision to give them bonuses. Now there is. We're required by the law to give them bonuses. Previously, there was no requirements of having a workers' participation committee. Now there is. Previously, there was no safety committee. Now there is. So these are some of the things that have changed within the labor law that has helped the well-being of the full workforce.
DBL Group, like Fakir Apparels, has implemented a significant amount of projects for their workers. These projects are based on 5 pillars of people, process, product, community, and environment.
I'm Mohammad Zaidullah. I'm the Chief Sustainability Officer at DBL Group. So the company started as Dulal Brothers Limited. So it was just a garments factory which started with just 100 people. And today we have 44,000 employees in our company. We have $870 million revenue. And the company has also diversified.
One of the many initiatives both factories have is the Fair Price Shop, which has the purpose of subsidizing basic necessities for the workers.
It's not Fair Price Shop.
Certificate from H&M. So I let it now.
DBL Group has also received recognition from the multinational company H&M as the Fair Price Shop has had a sustained positive impact on the workers.
495 is the price over here. In the market over here, but over here it's 431. So there's a subsidy over there. Subsidy for all products are there. Became Taka 40, Taka 45, but for us from day one, Taka 10. No change.
There is a larger subsidy on sanitary napkins as the workforce is predominantly women. This has also influenced other initiatives such as the daycare center, which allows garment workers to leave their children under the supervision of daycare governance workers while they are at work.
Hello.
This initiative was implemented with the assistance of BRAC, a non-governmental organization working with government factories to improve working conditions. The daycare governance workers take care of the children while their mothers are at work, but the mothers also have the option to visit their children during their breaks or at any time necessary.
What's your name?
Shumi Akhtar.
Shumia has been working as a daycare governance worker at DBL Group for 12 years and 6 months, and has seen the immense impact this has had on mothers who have just given birth or have young children that cannot be left unattended for too long.
কাজ করলে আমাদের নিজের মানসিক একটা শান্তি পাই, কোনো সমস্যা নাই, কাজের মানে গ্রোথ বাড়ে আর কি। চিন্তা করতে পারে যে না আমি এখানে একটা বাচ্চা রেখেছি এবং সকল মানে খাবার দাবার সব কোম্পানি থেকে দিতে আসছে এখানে। বাচ্চাদের কি লেখাপড়া শেখায়? যারা আড়াই বছর 5 বছর 3 বছর প্রি এডুকেশনাল।
However, the very first initiatives that were enforced were for the female workers themselves.
We found that one of the biggest complaints was that they face harassment and discrimination. The first thing that we did obviously was to target and bring down harassment and discrimination in the workplace. So we partnered up with Better Work, where we are conducting regularly anti-harassment workshops with men and women. So what this does is creates a boundary or teaches them how they're allowed to act, what is okay and what is absolutely not okay.
Ms. Saman mentioned Better Work, which is a program that works to enforce labor reforms globally. Mr. Anis, the program manager of Better Work Bangladesh, discusses the organization's role in catalyzing labor reforms.
Now I manage Better Work Bangladesh program for 1 year and 3 months. So Better Work has two prongs approach. One is going at the factory level, meaning we go to the factory in daily basis. And then the second phase, because we are the ILO program, we have to make sure that the government, the employers association and the workers association align with the national labor standard, that they have data to have a better policy and program. Because a lot of cases what we found in the factory, it's also linked to the policy at the national level.
So what has Better Work done to provide women with the same opportunities presented to men? How do they go from being operators to becoming leaders in this industry?
Here is, you can see it is a woman empowerment program. So the target of the program first is the female workers who are willing to be the supervisor or already a supervisor, and the managers. For the female workers, we help them with technical and soft skill. And then to the managers, we help them to be able to have an enabling environment for the female workers to grow.
Shramoni is a female supervisor who underwent the 2-month supervisor training as part of the GEAR program. I used to work at another factory before this for 5 years, but after conceiving my first child, I moved here because I felt mentally safer and more secure. When asked if she enjoyed the supervisory program, she said, "I enjoyed it very much. I think work is not possible if it isn't enjoyable." But opportunities for women don't stop there. Supervisors can also progress to become a line of chief. Jonathan says she spent 2 years as a worker specialized in sewing. After participating in the Women's Supervisor program, she became a supervisor, a role she stayed in for 4 years. She describes her responsibility as a supervisor and the sense of leadership that's provided her. As her job was to overlook all others working in sewing within her designated area, she felt mentally empowered as her leadership skills improved, consequently improving her confidence. She was then promoted to line of chief, a role she's currently in and has been doing for the past 2 years. Her job now requires her to overlook the entire process of manufacturing garments, from the sewing machine to the ironing of the cloth and all the way to its packaging.
আমি 9th হওয়ার পরে একটা লাইনের লিডার টান ওদের ভালো মন্দ সমস্যা ছুটি লাগলে হেডি দেখি আমি আর আমার হচ্ছে উন্নতি হয়েছে আমার স্যালারি আমি ওয়ার্কার থেকে 9,000 টাকা পাইতাম সুপারভাইজার হওয়ার পরে 18,000 টাকা এখন আমার তো কিছু না এটাই আমার আমার জন্য খুব ভালো।
In Better Work, our intervention on women empowerment is actually not only on the maternity protection and the leadership, but also about participation and voice.
Giving this voice is essential to measure the impact of all these initiatives. At Fakir Apparels, communication between team members and factory leaders is fostered through various ways.
We have grievance boxes, right? And it's legally compliant to have grievance boxes within our premises. So when people are complaining about, and there are lots of types of complaints. One of them is harassment and discrimination. And when they're putting the complaints in, we are monitoring how many harassment complaints are coming and discrimination ones are coming. So over the years, we've seen a significant decrease in these numbers of complaints. Also, I tend to sit with our team members monthly just to see how they're going, if they have any feedbacks, if anti-harassment workshops require any more additional focus on a topic that maybe we don't know about. So this kind of dialogue between staff and them is helping us to target more of these problems.
So when you go up to be a supervisor and you manage people, you will not be protected by the law. At least that's the interpretation in Bangladesh, yeah? So that means it's happened that this female supervisor, for example, while they have to work longer, but their salary is not higher compared to their supervisee. That's one problem area for this female supervisor. I think what I can say as well is that a lot of this also linked to what happened in their house, what happened in their society. So basically beyond factory walls, we do have a bigger issue.
This was a protest I witnessed while leaving the BGMEA's office. The constant repetition of this movement will continue until our demands are met highlights that labor conditions are still not where they need to be, even a decade after Rana Plaza.
Bangladesh as a country has a national law that are not aligned with international labor standard. There are two main issues there. One is the freedom of association. At the moment, freedom of association is available. By law, it's protected, the rights to organize a union, but there are certain limitations. So if you are a worker, yes, you can form a union. But if you are a supervisor, the interpretation is that they are not workers, hence they cannot have a union or they cannot form a union. And that's why we also saw a lot of rights violation to the supervisor and managers. And then the other issue on that law is on the EPZ law.
The EPZ law refers to the Export Processing Zone Labor Act, which is legislation that governs labor relations and determines the rights of employees in all export processing zones in Bangladesh.
The EPZ law in Bangladesh prohibited the union to be established inside the EPZ.
This means that all workers in export processing zones, or EPZs, don't have the right to establish trade unions, which infringes on their right to freedom of association. But how has this impacted the workers? Over the noise of the machinery in the factory, Shamrani explains that although her experience as a female leader at DBL Group has been good, she knows friends at other factories who have not been treated fairly, either due to a lack of proper wages or a lack of support within the factories, especially towards women who face challenges such as harassment and discrimination. As a result of this, she brought two friends to DBL Group's factory, where they are happy, according to her. When asked the names of the factories her friends left due to unfair treatment, she refused to provide the names. However, that's not all. The labor inspections of factories, albeit improved since Rana Plaza, still have a long way to go, especially in EPZs.
Labor inspection system in Bangladesh, so they also not including the EPZ. And that's, I think, the challenge at the national level. Challenges for us to operate, but also challenges not only for Better Work to operate, but also challenges to the country.
In Bangladesh, the garment industry employs 4 million people, with women comprising 4 out of every 5 workers. As Bangladesh's economic growth progresses, heavily due to the RMG industry, which contributes to over 80% of the nation's total exports, Bangladesh has met the criteria to graduate from the least developed country status. While this means poverty has decreased over the past decade, employment has increased and socioeconomic indicators of economic growth, such as literacy rates, school enrollment, etc., have all improved. There are still challenges, not only to the country's economy, but to the people that contribute to it.
Bangladesh is graduating from the least developed country category on the basis of its achievements in human development. So rather than simply grow fast as an economy, it has had broad-based development across the 3 dimensions by which the least developed country category is measured: human assets, economic vulnerability, and income per capita.
Because Bangladesh is currently classified as an LDC, the nation benefits from the EU's Everything But Arms trade arrangement and is a beneficiary of the EU's GSP scheme, which provides duty-free, quota-free access for all exports except arms and ammunition. Being Bangladesh's largest importer, the EU accounts for approximately 64% of Bangladesh's total apparel exports. However, as the United Nations has suggested for Bangladesh to graduate from the LDC status by 2026, the stakeholders within the RMG sector must look ahead to ensure that Bangladesh can still yield competitive advantage in the apparels market and maintain the economic growth of the nation, as it is predicted that the country will lose $4 billion without duty-free gains.
My name is Miran Ali. I'm the managing director of the B2B Group and vice president at the BGMEA. I'm also the director of the RMG Sustainability Council, which is responsible for industrial safety. And I'm the global spokesperson for the Sustainable Terms of Trade Initiative, which is a project bringing together 10 countries around the world on a common platform. So the BGMEA is the main trade association representing the Bangladesh garments industry. We have multiple roles that we play within this thing. So there are certain statutory powers given to the BGMEA by the government. We are the main trade policy lobbying organization for the Bangladesh industry. We also deal a lot with labor issues in terms of labor reform. Basically, everything within the garments industry is something that we have something to do with.
Being such an impactful entity in the RMG sector of Bangladesh, how is the BGMEA looking ahead as the LDC graduation approaches?
The Bangladesh is scheduled to be graduating from LDC to middle income status by 2026. When that happens, the European Union, which is the primary market that's affected by this graduation, keep in mind that the United States, which makes up a significant portion of our business, is not affected. So only the European Union is affected. Within the European Union, we have GSP continuing until 2029. There's a 3-year transition window. We are now negotiating with the European Union, with the European Commission, in order to get an extension of the transition period. Without an extension of the transition period, after 2029, the industry will face challenges if we have to compete without any trade privileges. However, I'm confident that we will be getting some sort of an extension.
But how long can Bangladesh rely on the trade preferential agreements to maintain competitive advantage? At some point, the nation must leave its training wheels behind, especially as that is not the only threat to the nation's RMG sector. In March 2021, the EU announced mandatory human rights and environmental due diligence to encourage companies to prioritize responsible and sustainable business practices, including the fair treatment of all individuals in their supply chains and reducing environmental impacts.
If Bangladesh is not prepared themselves, then the impact may be negative for Bangladesh.
However, as Mr. Anis mentions, Bangladesh needs to prepare for this, as the European Commission's new proposal is likely to have a significant impact on the RMG export market in Bangladesh if it comes into force. So what is Bangladesh doing to mitigate this impact?
Thank you, Madam President. We just had a frank exchange of views on Bangladesh-EU relations. We reaffirmed our shared values of democracy, human rights, and the rule of law. The EU's Everything But Arms scheme contributed immensely to Bangladesh's socio-economic development. I recall formalizing these arrangements during my first term in office in 2000. I hope that the EU will offer GSP Plus to Bangladesh to support our development following our LDC graduation in 2026.
However, simple words are not enough. Action needs to be taken, especially as there are still outstanding laws, such as those governing the export processing zones. But the LDC graduation is still 3 years away, and as the trade preferential agreements with the EU have been extended, there is still time to make further progress and continue on the path of reformations to ensure that while economic growth flourishes, the people that build the economic growth are not left behind.